back to the comic book ASM artist. Today we are doing another whispered video, and I don't know if you guys remember a while back I did a Marvel history book by Les Daniels. This is the DC Comics history book by Les Daniels, and this one was written, I want to say, about 5 years later than that one. And I never acquired this as a kid. I saw it on the shelf once for full price, which was $50. And then I saw it on clearance around the time I went to my mom's funeral. That was in like 2008, I want to say, or a little earlier. But I didn't have money then. But I found this at Half Price Books recently. So first I want to point out, I don't know if you can see it because of the lighting here, but there's an embossed DC Comics logo in there. And I had to turn the light off for this video too, because the glare was just so bad with the texture on the pages. So I hope that helps and you're able to relax better. And I'm using my gaming headphone mic instead of my Rode mic today. I'm gonna be trying to get a Yeti mic, but I gotta get funds to do that. First off, I want to say I love the table of contents. It's very poppy, you know. And this came out in '95, so it's laid out very much the way you would expect something to be laid out from that time period. And the earlier stuff in here really doesn't excite me a lot, but I am going through it just because, you know, a lot of this stuff you can't do in comics now with the Asian stereotypes and everything. There's the Action Comics #1. I want to say this right here is the initial pitch for Superman. He was like a bad guy. So you can, I'm going to pull that up tighter. I'm not going to read all that, but you can pause it and check it out if you like. And then this is their first image, I believe, there. Now the early Superman, my brother, he had like a nice hardbound book. There's the first Lois, that's pretty nice. So I'm familiar with like the first, I think it reprinted the first 6 or so issues. 6 or 12 issues. I think he had the Superman one, as well as the Action Comics one. So I vaguely remember that, but we didn't have a ton of the early stuff, or even really 70s or 80s. We had late 80s, 90s, and then my brother, like I said, he got those hardbound, the DC, I'm trying to remember what I think they're just called archive editions. And I used to have the Batman one, so I'm familiar with the early Detective Comics, first 12 or so issues of that. But I'm more steeped in Batman stuff than Superman, so you have your first appearance of Robin here. You get the Joker, Two-Face, Catwoman. It's just always fun to see, you know, how far books have come. And a lot of people rag on this time period, you know. But I mean, you can't have what we have without having done the work and the character development and the iconography of the past. Some things stuck around and some things Titans didn't. Here's the early Flash. So I was telling my kid he didn't understand why Flash had like the ball on his head and the wings on his feet and stuff. Pretty sure he was modeled after Hermes. There's the early Green Lantern here. Justice Society. It's the original Wonder Woman stuff here. I really liked the original. She had the big lashes and everything. It's pretty cool. And I'm not too steeped on her either. I guess they've had stuff about like the behind the scenes origins, and the guy who created her was into some weird like stuff with a mistress and bondage and things. So it's kind of odd because we definitely think about a lot of wholesomeness in early comics. But every now and then you get an instance like that, which was very different. Now this for me here is the Fleischer Superman. This is the old cartoons. I love these, and these were a big influencer for Batman the Animated Series look and feel. If you haven't seen them, I highly recommend them. You can usually stream them and things like that, but they're great. I think I've seen them all. I think there weren't too many of them, maybe 13 episodes, about 10 or so minutes. This is the first Superman action figure made out of wood. Or rather, it was made out of wood, not the first one that was, but this was the first Superman action figure. Oh, that's pretty cool. And we get Superman baby doll. I love how the early days there was just a lot of really random toys, like nothing was off the limits. Like here, look, we got Superman bread, and I know that there was Batman bread too. I need to, this is the old black and white Batman. I didn't watch this, but I need to hunt down that old 60s Batman book like this too, that I used to check out from our library back in the day. And I remember watching some of the early black and white Superman, but I don't remember a lot of it. I know when he guest starred on I Love Lucy, because that was my mom and me's show we would always watch. He dropped in to make an appearance at Ricky's son's birthday, and like Lucy was dressed up as Superman. Basically, she promised her son, I think his name is just Ricky Jr. if I remember, that it's a Bob Hope comic. A lot of other, you got Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin and stuff over here too. Promised that he would come, and she overspoke. So then she dressed up as Superman. And then Ricky, her husband, got the real Superman to pop in. Nice war comic here. And then of course you have your period with the romance comics. Some more black and white Superman, George Reeves, and that was the Superman from the guest spot on Lucy there. The Comics Code Authority. And I mean, there were scary things about the Comics Code too, that creators didn't care for a lot. But like I said, I am kind of use it as a way to help me filter creativity in a way that is to make my content for all ages. And I do want to skew a lot of it younger, because there's not a ton of superhero comics playing wholesomeness straight, you know. Like, my book will eventually get to a place where it feels, I don't know, it'll feel modern, but it'll still maintain a wholesome aspect to it. Early stages, you know, the bull is still a kid, so of course you're gonna see a lot of the early interactions with that school and stuff, but later on he will age and things will happen, so a lot of the levity will dissipate a little bit. I mean, it will still have an air to it, but it won't be a schoolyard setting. Now here we go, here's the 60s Batman. And for me, the 60s Batman was really my introduction to the character. My earliest, remember, there's the Batman bread. My earliest memory of Batman from the 60s was I had chicken pox, and I remember just watching a ton of Batman on the TV to help me when I was sick with that. So that's really my earliest memory. I believe it was on the Family Channel, is what it was called at the time, where I would watch it. And I still need to get those DVDs too, where they put out the nice big set of them. Sadly, I did miss out on meeting Adam West. Here's a big moment for comics here. This African American man call out Green Lantern for not helping the African American cause in the world and focusing on all these aliens, but not the people on the planet Earth, specifically the people who weren't white. So that was a very bold move at the time. And every now and then you would have a comic that did that. But here's a Swamp Thing here. One of my best friends, he loves Swamp Thing. I don't have a lot of interaction with it myself. The character does interest me. He seems very grown up. It's a fourth world stuff with Jack Kirby here. Had no experience with Tarzan. I mean, that's same with Shazam. I know he had a show and I really watched it. Same with believe it or not, I haven't watched any of the Wonder Woman stuff either. I'd like to, but I just haven't seen it. Remember, this was a big deal, the Superman boxing Muhammad Ali. I'm trying to remember about how much you can find that comic on the shelves for. It was like a bigger, like magazine style printing. A Superman, Christopher Reeve's Superman was, of course, very fond memory for me. I really loved Superman 2 when he was fighting all the other people who were equally balanced with power like he was. And the whole thing where he was depowered and being bullied by the guy at the truck stop or the diner or whatever. Your seats in there, 4 eyes stuff. That's funny. Did it skip or did I skip? I guess it skips a little bit. And then here is Camelot 3000, I want to say. And I haven't read this yet. I did buy the trade. Once again, half price books. Superman stuff here. I think it says even Kryptonians get tired. Yeah, I didn't really like 3 a lot. The thing I liked the most in the third Superman was when he fought like the shadow version of Superman with the stubble. I believe this is him up here taking a drink. And here we go with the, I'm trying to, what was his name? Just, oh jeez, I'm blanking. Yeah, Nuclear Man. And I remember they recently showed him in a Superman comic fighting Rolzar or whatever the heck that Bendis creation's name is. The silliest thing to me about Superman 4 was in the opening. They have like a 1,000-pound weight or something in a museum being held up by a strand of Superman's hair. And Lex Luthor just uses a pair of scissors to clip the hair, steal it, and make a clone, which would be Nuclear Man here, of Superman for him to fight. And yeah, I just remember thinking like, wait, it can hold 1,000 pounds, but a pair of scissors can cut the hair. That doesn't make any sense. Now I don't remember if he said that the scissors had been lined in kryptonite or not, but if they didn't, then that was definitely a plot oversight. Now, I vaguely remember the Swamp Thing live-action TV show. I know there was a movie prior to it, too. I never watched that. But I remember that the live-action show came on the USA Network. And I remember there was an episode where his enemy had pulled out his heart. And you saw his heart beating in the enemy's hand. And that scene stuck with me, but I really have no recollection of anything else really from that series. And then I know that they had a cartoon too and toys for that my friend really liked. And we have the nice action figures from the 80s here. And sadly, these ones are the most valuable and the ones everyone wants. The ones I had as a kid were when they started to remold a lot of these. And it was like Toy Biz had made them, and they were like the DC superheroes line, and the packaging was gold with the spots and had the paintings of the characters. But even as I'm looking here, I didn't realize a lot of these guys that they made in characters previously, like all the Jack Kirby stuff here and some of these guys up here and stuff. So it's pretty cool looking at this page right here. And I would love to get some of these, show them off on the channel here. More than likely I'll end up getting some of the Toy Biz ones and showing them off, because I know these ones typically are pricier. Same with the Marvel Secret Wars figures, which once again, I was late to that game. The figures I got were the Toy Biz ones. And we have the Crisis on Infinite Earths here. And I guess this was where the DC timeline kind of skewed and changes started to happen that a lot of people didn't care for. They were trying to modernize the industry a little bit. And believe it or not, I haven't read the Crisis event. I would love to. I know that it's got some really great artwork in it. And it is a classic, but I haven't read it. Speaking of classics, here is the Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller. And this really set the tone for pretty much every comic that came after it. Everyone was trying to be dark and gritty and adult, I guess. And I will be doing a reading of this later in my channel for sure. first six issues of this I will be reading on the channel too. And this was like when my brother officially started collecting Superman, was with John Byrne's run. And I remember running across this Time magazine of Superman's birthday, and I found a library, and it wasn't a checkout thing, so I remember making photocopies of the article and the cover in black and white. And this is here. Now I am kicking myself for this. I had a lot of comics that I got when I was maybe around 14 or so. And there was a girl that, she wasn't my girlfriend or anything, but she was a really good friend, and she liked Wonder Woman a lot. And at the time, I really didn't care much at all about Wonder Woman. Like I said, the character interests me, but still there's very few books I collect, and I still don't collect Wonder Woman. But I'm kind of kicking myself for giving her this issue. It was one of the issues that I had in there. I think I had a couple others in the lot too. But I had this, and I gave it to her just because I knew she liked the character. So hopefully she still has her copy of it. We have Watchmen here. Another very huge deal in the industry. Kind of a story about anti-heroes, and I believe it's still like the highest selling graphic novel of all time, and I'll probably be doing a reading of that later in the channel too. Now we see some images here. I know that there was a Superboy show, I think it was on CBS. I vaguely remember it, but not really too well. I know that they had comics whenever it had come out too, and my brother was collecting those, the Superboy books. And then of course we have the iconic death of Robin, and this is the panel it actually drew out if the readers had voted for Robin to live. So that's nice seeing the what if scenario there. And there, of course, is the ad where you would call in if you wanted Robin to live or die. And then, of course, the big influencer for me was so huge at the time. The 1989 Batman. I'm sure as you all know now, the Bull's costume is heavily inspired by the 1989 Batman, and there's a nice little nod to that in the first issue. And there'll be a couple other little nuggets as the series goes too that you'll see. But just a classic movie. I still enjoy it. Some people rag on it. It's okay, you're entitled to your opinion. Now, Sandman was a character that my oldest brother got into later. You know, it was an adult book, so, but I never really got into it. But it does interest me since it's so visually striking. There's the Arkham Asylum story. I don't own it currently, but that is one I want to read on the channel too. This is just really the and then they had the weird early 90s Flash. This was on the Sci-Fi Network back in the day. And I never really watched that either. was a decent chunk of time, Batman was banned from our house, so we had to secretly watch Batman the Animated Series, and we would record it secretly and stuff. There's the Batman movie serial that I miss from my childhood. And also the Ninja Turtles were banned from our house too, because we were trying to do karate on each other. So we could only officially, like, watch Captain Planet and, what else? And collect, like, Captain Planet toys and stuff. We were able to still collect some Marvel things, but, once again, my mom would censor quite a bit of my stuff. So, here we go, the death of Superman. To this day, still one of my favorite arcs. I would love to read some of that for the channel too. Once again, of course, here's our Batman animated. Still the greatest iteration of the cartoon. And then there's a nice Easter egg here, I guess. In this car here we have the DC Group editors Archie Goodwin, Danny O'Neill, and Mcfarlane. So, that's fun. Some more about Vertigo here. This is Simon Bisley's work here. Yes. He always had a very unique take on things. There's the return of Superman, this sweet mullet. And these great posters that came with the issues when each of them were introduced. And they had the die-cut symbols on the front for each of them. This is a neat, like, Batman animated pop-out. Now I am surprised that Milestone is not something DC is trying to cash back in on, especially with all the buzz of Black Panther and everything. We see that there is an appetite for representation in comics for the African American community. But I don't know, maybe they feel it's not a big enough piece of the pie for them right now, or that might change with the shakeup of the company going on. We have Lois Clark, and of course I remember watching this as a kid. It was very entertaining. And I recently saw this, but I don't know anything about it. I'm interested in that. Beautiful stories for ugly children. And there's the aspect to remember that Mad Comics, or Mad Magazine rather, is published under the same company as DC. And here we have the Todd Mcfarlane Batman. And the thing about this is they didn't color the circle all the way. So anytime anyone, and this is the foreign version too, but even in the American version, the original prints are not colored correctly. So yeah, I guess this is showing different countries, DC Comics. Remember, this was a coloring book here because I had the American version of that. And I'm pretty sure this cover here never made it to America. There's some more DC collectibles. 0 Hour. I vaguely remember 0 Hour, but I did not really read it, so I'm interested in going back and reading it. I know Impulse, I believe, was the savior of that event, if I recall. as good as the first two Batmans, but the fourth one, Batman and Robin, was the one that is obviously the least popular out of them. Which is ironic because at the time, that movie, out of all the Batmans, was the only one where I went to go watch it, and it sold out, so I had to go to an impromptu midnight showing of Batman and Robin. So, but I did enjoy Batman Forever a lot. I really liked Jim Carrey at the time, and I just thought it was a lot of fun. Now this is neat here. This is a painting by Alex Ross that I don't remember seeing, and this looks like it's maybe heavier on airbrush than it is on gouache. I could be wrong on that. I don't remember seeing this in the DC Mythologies book by him, though. That's your table of contents. And then the back has the Batman origin. And our nice Les Daniels picture there. Alright, well that's gonna do it for now. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought. Turn that bell on for notifications. More readings to come, more hauls to come. Let me know what you want to see. You all have a good day or night. Don't forget to get your digital copy of the Bull number 1. Just $3. You can click the link below for that. I'm working on number 2 as we speak. And when that launches, there will be a second printing variant for the Bull number 1 cover. So those of you who early adopted the first issue, you will have a true collectible in your hand, because all the covers after that will have a variation on them. So, thank you all so much. Have a good day or night.